My name's Dave Gorman, and welcome to Modern Life is Goodish. I want to start tonight's show with a bit of careers advice. We had a job available on the show this year. Now, this isn't an area I would normally get involved in, but in this instance, one of our producers was very keen to show me one of the CVs we'd been sent. In particular, it was the personal statement that he wanted to draw my attention to. You'll soon see why. A lot of people think that January are lazy and entitled. I'm on a one-man mission to prove them wrong. So I promise hard work, concentration, and attention to detail at all times. I know. It is hard to imagine two sentences sitting side by side like that while fundamentally disagreeing with each other quite so much, apart from maybe, hello and welcome to All Star Family Fortunes, and tonight's guests are Paul Potts and Anne Widdecombe. We spent hours in our office poring over the sentence, a lot of people think that January are lazy and entitled, trying to work out what on earth it means, and then wondering how it's possible to have typed it while also promising concentration and attention to detail at all times. They did not get invited in for an interview. Not just because of that, but our producer did get in touch with them and say, I think quite kindly, say, you might want to rewrite your personal statement, by the way. And while I'm here, what the hell does it mean? And when you know what he meant, it only gets more confusing. Apparently, when he typed January, he meant Generation Y. I have no idea how that is possible. Is that autocorrect? We spent 3 hours in our office all typing Generation Y in as many weird-ass cockamamie ways, and not one of us could make autocorrect suggest January. To be honest, I'm really doing this young man a favour here. He needs to concentrate and pay attention to his spacebar too, because his email didn't actually say Generation Y, it actually said Generation-y. He's right, though, isn't he, in a way? He is. January is getting very generation-y these days, I mean, December's always been quite generation-y, but it's spilling over into January now as well, isn't it? Weirdly, I think the thing I find most fascinating about this is just the confidence with which this chap knows what generation he's a part of. Is that the concept of generations seems to be quite a modern construct. In the 1800s, nobody was talking about this generation or that generation or what the generation to come is going to be called. It wasn't a phrase that was bandied around back then. I think it all started, basically, with the greatest generation. That's the people who were raised in the Depression and came of age during World War II. People who overcame great adversity, whose lives were collectively shaped by cataclysmic global events. Then we have baby boomers. Again, this makes sense. There was a genuine baby boom, a huge spike in birth rates, and they are a generation bonded by circumstance. They were born into a world of renewed confidence. For the first time in a long time, parents were having children with the reasonable expectation that there would be peace in their lifetime. These are two sturdy, epoch-defining phrases. Given that this is where it started, isn't it just a teeny bit embarrassing that people are now using the phrase, the Avocado Generation? If you don't believe that this exists, there it is. There's the Avocado Generation. Incidentally, there is also the Smashed Avocado Generation. Now, I'm not sure if the Smashed Avocado Generation is a subset of the Avocado Generation, or if it is exactly the same people as the Avocado Generation just after 9 o'clock at night. Not quite sure. We've basically taken the word from historians and demographers and given it to marketers and lazy journalists. But then I would say that, apparently, because I'm just part of the WhatsApp generation, aren't I? Apparently. Yeah. Apparently, I would qualify as a member of that. I would also qualify as a member of the Facebook generation, the sandwich generation. I'm a perennial. I'm a member of Generation Sex. But I'm too old, apparently, to be one of the Linkster generation, or the porn generation, or Generation Snowflake, or Generation Alpha, or even the Peter Pan generation. And I've read this story 5 times, and I still haven't got the faintest idea as to what they mean by the Walker's Crisps generation. I can think of a handful of people who qualify as the Walker's Crisps generation. That's all I can think of. Obviously, I understand generations in a family context. I get that. Although even that grows increasingly complicated in the modern world, doesn't it? One of my older brothers is a granddad already. He has a 4-year-old daughter as well. His grandson was born before his daughter, meaning that on the day she was born, she was an auntie. I know, that is hard to get your head round, isn't it? Let me explain it more clearly. I'll tell you what, I won't exploit my own family for this explanation. I'll exploit a famous family instead, OK? Let's just have a look at one branch of Mick Jagger's family tree, OK? So there's Mick, OK? Let's look at his first marriage to Bianca. From that marriage, he has one child, his daughter Jade, and he has 3 grandchildren also. And yeah, Mick is a great-granddad. He has 1 great-granddaughter. That ought to be 4 very clearly defined generations. But actually, his great-granddaughter Ezra was born in May 2014. And his grandson, Ray, was born not even 4 weeks later in June 2014. So on the day Ray was born, he was already an uncle to a month-old niece. Now, of course, that is just one branch of Mick's family tree. Obviously, it's almost impossible to put every branch of Mick's family tree onto one screen. You'd be a fool for trying, but let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. Let's throw Mick off to the left there and throw a line across the top of the screen there to accommodate all of the women whose ovaries have played ball with his little red rooster. And here they go. There they go. They're all on the board. Now, let's throw in the kids, and you'll see that it soon looks like that. Very complicated. So I think that is the complete 4 generations of Jagger, arranged in a traditional fashion. But let's look at it differently. Let's take everybody off that family tree and then add them back in the order in which they were born. That way, we'll see how often we start a new generation before we've completed an old one. Incidentally, and this is really quite weird, because this is his family tree, OK? But this is the opening few bars to I Can't Get No Satisfaction. How weird is that? That is weird, isn't it? That is odd. It's not. Of course it's not. I mean, I wish it was, obviously, but you can't always get what you want. Anyway, that there is the family tree. We're adding them in the order in which they were born, OK? Obviously, we start with the oldest member of the family, and that is great-granddad Mick up in the corner there. Now, let's see how it flows. We throw the others on in the order in which they were born. Well, it's worth pausing there, isn't it, to acknowledge the situation. At this moment in time, half of his 8 children have been born, and yet this is an empty lot. The mother to one of his children is younger than 4 of his children. Melanie wasn't born until 1986. James was born in 1985. I'm not sure how this works, but I think if we apply the same logic that told us that Ray was born an uncle, it follows that on the day that Melanie was born, she was already a stepmum. That can't be right, can it? That's not right, is it? I'm not quite sure. Anyway, moving on. The next cab off the rank is Gabriel, or let's call him Uncle Gabriel, because that's what he is, as is his stepbrother, Uncle Lucas there, and we soon arrive at Ezra, who we've already discussed, and so we know that Ray was also born an uncle. There is, at this moment in time, just one space to fill. And that space is occupied by little baby Devereux. Should we have a closer look at little baby Devereux? Yeah? You'll notice I haven't put any pictures of the other children up, but I do love a baby picture, yeah? Do you love a baby picture? Yeah. I'm trying out a bit of new computer software, OK? Computer, find me a picture of baby Devereux. Computer! Ridiculous. Now, of course, little baby Devereux is not only an uncle 5 times over, but as you can see, one of his nephews is already an uncle, which is your proof that Devereux is already a great uncle on the day he's born. Congratulations, Melanie, you've had a great uncle. Now, I don't want this to be misunderstood here. I'm not making any judgments. I don't want anyone to think I'm taking a moralistic stance over mixed love life. My only point here is to highlight how useless it is thinking of a family in terms of generations in this day and age. In fact, if anything, if Mick happens to catch this when it's on the telly, I hope that his reaction will actually be, oh, that's actually quite useful. Yeah. This is making Christmas a lot easier. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, I'll just pause the telly and write this down. That's very, very helpful. I'll tell you what, while Mick does that, let's have ourselves a little break. Modern life is Goodish, ladies. I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to have a bit of banana while I haven't eaten properly. I'm just going to do it. What? What's wrong with a man having a banana, for crying out loud? All right, then, all right. If it bothers you. Bloody hell, people. Anyway, welcome back, welcome back. You know, the trouble with all these generations is they make good copy for journalists while doing nothing to actually define us. For example, when you see an article discussing, let's say, the WhatsApp generation, I think you probably picture someone who looks something like that. But if the WhatsApp generation actually means anything, surely it means the people who use WhatsApp. In which case, you might just as well be picturing that. And not just him, pretty much every politician uses WhatsApp these days, and on both sides of the house. And my mum, my in-laws, everyone I know uses it, young and old, in which case the phrase WhatsApp generation basically means, you know, people. I don't think you can define a generation by the technology they use. I think you have to think about how they use it. And I think I've come up with a defined generation that is actually useful to us. I think I am a member of Generation Spells Everything Properly in Text Messages. That's not me, that's me. That's me. That's the tribe. People. I don't mind other people. I'm just not capable of using these things as words or syllables. I don't mind if you do, good luck to you. But I can't do it. My brain isn't wired like that. If I get a text message that says, good to see you, I don't see or hear the words, good to see you. My first thought is normally, oh, I must have forgotten my password for a website and requested an activation code. It might be quicker to type this, but it's not quicker to read. And I don't think it's as simple as young people do, old people don't. I'll use my own family tree to illustrate, OK? So that is my own little contribution to the Gorman family tree. Me, Mrs. Gorman, and our little lad, Eric. And that is roughly how the rest of it works, OK? No names, no pat drill. Those details aren't important. So that is 4 generations. And I'm saying that this generation tends to spell things properly in text messages and that this generation does not. And I think intuitively, people then assume that this is the dividing line and you can lump the older and younger generations together on their side of the line. But in my experience, it doesn't work like that. In my experience, the older generation is just as happy to use the code. Generation Spells Everything Properly in text messages are stranded like an island between the two. It's hard to remember quite how much has changed in our own lifetimes. Mobile phones effectively became affordable for the average man in the street in the early 90s. I was in my early 20s. I'd only recently left formal education behind me. So I picked up a mobile phone. I didn't treat it as alien or different or what have you. I just used it as another way to communicate and did so using all of the same grammar and syntax that my mother, who was an English teacher, and the rest of her generation had taught me. At that time, my mum was in her 50s. They didn't want mobile phones. They were scared of mobile phones, that generation. They didn't get phones for another 10 or 11 years or more. And they didn't do it because of us. They did it because of our children. It was when my brother's children had become 10, 11, 12-year-old kids, and they started saying, oh, have you got a mobile? Nan, you're so square, I want to send you a text message. That's when they were finally cajoled into getting mobile phones to communicate with their grandchildren. And because that's who they wanted to communicate, that's who they copied. They thought, this is different, the rules are different. How do you do this, they asked, and the grandchildren explained. And so I used a mobile phone using the grammar taught to me by these people, but these people used a mobile phone using the grammar taught to them by these people, who are idiot children. And that is why they will use these things, and I can't do it. I can't do it. And it's not just these things, by the way. It's not just these things. It's also those. Now, my problem here is that my phone doesn't show me what my mum is typing. When my mum types that, that's what she means. She means colon bracket, right? She would do that. She's leaving a Post-it note in the kitchen for my stepdad. She'd go, oh, please feed the dog, ... smile. She'd do that. That's fine. That's what she means. That's what she's trying to tell me. That's not what my phone shows me. My mum types that, and my phone does that. That is not what my mum meant. My mum meant that. That means I'm happy. This means your mum is 12 and Japanese. I mean, it's all right in a way. It's all right when it's a happy message. Who cares when it's a happy message? But it isn't always a happy message, is it? This is a genuine text message from my mum to me, OK? I have censored the names of the people involved. I do not wish to cause any offence, OK? From my mum to me, Mrs. has died from some nasty degenerative disease. That is not appropriate. That is not appropriate. Oh, dear son, dear son. That teacher you were fond of as a child has died.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry, so sorry for your loss.
I'll see you after the break. Goodish, ladies and gentlemen, where we have been talking about the generations. I think I might have identified another generational divide. Okay, hypothetical situation. Imagine that you are publishing your own magazine or maybe a website or whatever, and you've decided your magazine or website is going to have a monthly feature where you dispense domestic advice. OK, so, for example, you want to keep a glass of wine cold, you don't want ice to melt and dilute it, put frozen grapes in your wine. You're baking a potato in the microwave, put it on cocktail sticks, so it stands up. When it's done, it slides down the sticks. That sort of thing. If you were going to have that kind of feature in your magazine or website, what would you call that sort of advice? Any handy two-word phrase to describe that sort of thing? Life hack. I heard from over there. Anyone else? Down here, I heard it.
Top tips.
Top tip, exactly. Top tip. Young people, old people. Life hack for the young, top tips for the old, isn't it? That's what it is. It's exactly the same thing. They've just got a different name for them. And once again, my little micro-generation is caught between the two, equally uncomfortable with either phrase. This is what top tips used to look like. This is an example from Pick Me Up magazine, a magazine that knows the most important thing you need to know when choosing whether or not to put your faith in a piece of advice is the county the person was in when they wrote it. That's the important thing, isn't it? Yeah. You might have a great idea for an alternative use for a muffin tin, but what I want to know is what local authority empties your bins. That's the important thing. In this issue, the County of Cheshire offers up the following piece of advice. Keep nuisance birds away from your plants by attaching the tape from inside a cassette to a wooden post. They don't like the noise it makes when it's windy. And yeah, you could do that, but your garden will look like shit. Here's an example from Take a Break magazine. If you have bad foot odour, put a few unused tea bags in your shoes overnight to make them smell fresh again. You can present the same information very differently. Here is a life hack.
Today at American Express Studios, we're on a mission to make everyday life a little easier.
Look at this. If you've ever smelled your own shoes while wearing them, this is the life hack for you. No, American Express. If you've ever smelled your own shoes while wearing them, this is the life hack for you. And look at how nicely filmed the rest of this video is. It's all beautifully lit and stylishly shot, but it's the same bit of advice. This is essentially the same as this. When it's a top tip, you feel better than it. You laugh at the sad sack in Sittingbourne who thinks it's a good idea. But as a life hack, it makes you think you should actually bloody do it. This one makes you feel like you're not as good as them. They're living the perfect life and you're not. This one makes you think, what an idiot, I'm better than that. The way that life hack is filmed is sort of in the style of what I call the disembodied hands video. This is one of the big trends in life hacks. Videos shot from above showing a pair of hands doing something crafty. I'm sure you know the sort of thing. It makes things look deceptively easy. And do you know what? Mrs. Gorman loves these things. She is addicted to disembodied hand videos. She follows all of these pages on Facebook. 5-minute crafts, Goodful, Nifty by BuzzFeed, Hacksalutely Fabulous. And that is just the tip of the hackberg. The trouble is that what they do looks very appealing. But if you stop and unpick what you've just seen, I'm sure that most of them are really just awful top tips in disguise. Take this as an example from Hacksalutely Fabulous, OK? Forget screen printing, here's cream printing. This personalised balloon hack will blow your mind. Will it? Will it really? This is a way of you printing something on a balloon, something that you could also get done for about £1.25. Now, it's quite complicated, so I'll talk you through the various stages, OK? Let's have a look at the video. Here it goes. What you need to do, obviously, you need to get a balloon, first of all, and you need to pour vinegar into your balloon, just a bit. Every life hack contains vinegar. That's one of the rules. Then you've got to print a picture on your printer. You've got to cut it out, OK? And then you roll up your printed image, and you put it into the balloon, making sure the ink is on the outside of your roll, OK? Then you add squirty cream to the balloon, and then you tie it with an elastic band, OK? I hope you've all followed that. I said I'd break it up into stages, and so far, we've had balloon, vinegar, print picture, insert picture, squirty cream, elastic band, OK? And that is stage 1 of this life hack, OK? Stage 2, put it in the freezer overnight, OK? We're already into a 24-hour hack, by the way. Stage 3, leave it to defrost for a very specific 6 hours there. Next one, gently clean the cream out of your balloon. Not roughly, treat your balloon with respect. What are you, an animal? Then leave it overnight again, this time in your airing cupboard or something. And in the morning, ladies and gentlemen, you will have a printed balloon. Who has got the time for that? But it's hypnotic. It takes a few seconds in their video, and you end up thinking, this makes sense. And then you either do it and waste 2 days of your life and way too much perfectly good cream, or you don't do it and you end up spending your child's birthday feeling like you're not a proper Earth mother because you didn't make your own balloons, and you think Kirsty Allsop would have made her own balloons. And life hacks are basically bullying us. They are designed, I think, to make us feel inferior. Especially the ones that literally tell you you're doing things wrong, yeah? Oh, you've been using a stapler wrong your entire life. I haven't. I have a 100% record with a stapler. I have only ever succeeded in stapling the bits of paper I wanted to staple together. Turns out you've been showering wrong your entire life. No, I'm pretty good at that. Here are 8 things you never knew you were doing wrong, from tying your shoelaces to heating leftovers. Thank you, Daily Mirror. Let's count down the simple things we're all apparently surprisingly inadequate at, shall we? Number 1, going to the loo. Number 2, brushing your teeth. Number 3, untangling your headphones. Number 4, heating up leftovers. Number 5, washing and drying your hands. Number 6, packing your suitcase. Number 7, sleeping. And number 8, sitting. That is 8 things, and in those 8 things, you didn't once include tying your shoelaces, so it's a bit much you telling us I can't do stuff, when it turns out, Daily Mirror, one of the things you can't do is count. What the hell is that? All right, okay, then maybe there's one thing. Maybe there's one thing. I can see that. Actually, I think there are 2. I think there is another thing that most of us have been doing wrong. Slicing avocados. I think it's fair to say that you can slice an avocado wrongly because the most popular method of avocado slicing is actually putting people in hospital. Avocado hand is a genuine condition. As you can see here, it is a serious injury. It happens because people hold an avocado in one hand and they try to take the stone out with a knife in the other. And sometimes they slice right through to their hand holding the fruit. And it is happening a lot. Apparently, one London hospital has got used to a post-brunch surge on Saturdays. It is not surprising that they are doing that. There are lots of videos online telling you how to de-stone an avocado, and in each of these examples, they do it with a knife while holding the avocado in the other hand. That is terrible advice. That's why people are ending up in hospital. I mean, obviously, in these cases, they all get away with it. But not everyone gets away with it, do they?
But how do you get this pit out of this half? Take a really sharp knife in one hand, the avocado in the other.
No, don't do that.
Pay attention to what you're doing and give the pit a good whack.
Don't worry. The only disembodied hand videos I'm going to show you will be of this kind. Nothing else. There have been stories everywhere, and it's not just Britain, it's in the States, it's in Germany. They are all worried about avocado hand. This winds me up. USA Today, how dare they do this? Avocado hand is the latest British epidemic. According to USA Today, oh yeah, the British, they know how to do a lot of things properly. Cutting avocados is not one of them. How bloody dare they? Do you know what makes this really annoying? They have illustrated this story with a picture of someone who has got avocado hand. And the person they've chosen is Meryl Streep, the American actress Meryl Streep. with her avocado hand. That's like me writing an article about how Americans are all lousy drivers and illustrating it with a picture of Richard Hammond. Anyway, trust me, a lot of articles have been written about this phenomenon, and they inspire a lot of passionate debate. And you know what? When people get on their high horse about a situation that does not call for a horse of any size, there is only one place that I will be heading. To the bottom half of the internet, so that you don't have to. I've turned my favourites of their comments into something that I like to call a found poem that I would like to perform for you now. Avocado hand. Been there, done that. I tried an avocado once. Didn't like it. Too hard. I used to hate avocados, but now I like them. How weird is that? Not very. I've suffered avocado hand, and I can tell you that it hurts like hell. And by the way, when I did it, it wasn't even fashionable. I blame Nigella. She's the one who showed everyone how to de-stone the bloody things by sticking a knife in. Ever heard of a spoon, Nigella? Of course you have. You're a cook. You use a spoon for licking custard. So why not use one to de-stone an avocado? This is simply happening far too often. The time has come for warnings on packets of avocados. Packets? It's called the skin, dear. Some of them come in packets. Those ones should have warnings. We don't need warnings. If you can't cut an avocado, you just aren't ready to be middle class yet. I am working class, and I have never injured myself on an avocado of any kind. It's not just avocados. I have impressive potato peeler-related scars on both hands. I chopped the top of my finger off once, using a spiralizer. Lol. My husband managed to get a serious cut with lots of bleeding from a little ciabatta bun. Well, I, for one, will not risk severing an artery for something that tastes like snot. This is nature's way of telling you to stop being pretentious and have a peach instead. I see the great Meryl Streep injured herself on an avocado, and she dares to criticise President Trump. Hypocrite much? She's idiot. People think the avocado is a fruit. It's not. It's a berry. A single-seeded berry. Actually, one of the world's healthiest berries. So do please stop the snobbery. Snobberry. Lol. I thought berries were fruits. Berries are fruits. But avocadi are vegetables. Guys, my hand is bleeding right now. I'm waiting for an ambulance. So tell me, is it a berry or a fruit or a vegetable? I need to know so I can tell doctor. The best avocado I've ever eaten was a hairy one. I've no idea why it was hairy inside, but it tasted great. I thank you. The Bill Rock Ensemble, ladies and gentlemen. See you after the break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we've been talking about life hacks, and I mentioned earlier that Mrs. Gorman is obsessed with life hacks, particularly with the disembodied hand genre of life hacks. I genuinely don't like to see Mrs. Gorman taken in by these things. I want to see her laughing at stupid top tips, not being bullied by slick life hacks. If I show you one of the life hacks that she's actually made, you'll see what I mean, OK? This was shared on a Facebook page by Goodful, who were encouraging you to try these clever mason jar hacks to repurpose old jars, yeah? You're repurposing things. It's recycling. It's basically free. Except it's not. Because a mason jar is a very specific thing, OK? I've got one here. It's not like an old jam jar, like, oh, you finish the jar, clean it out and use it. It's got a two-part lid. It's got a hole in the lid, you can see right through it, and a solid bit that sits inside it. You can't make these unless you get a mason jar with a two-part lid. So the first thing Mrs. Gorman had to do was buy some mason jars. So she did. Right, that's 12 quid at the Swanee already. Huh? Now what the video shows you is how to make yourself a salt dispenser that looks like that. It's got the tippy-up spout in the lid. And Mrs. Gorman did succeed in making one, and as you can see, hers has got the tippy-up spout that goes up, and it also goes down. Absolutely beautiful. Now, the first thing you need is obviously a tub of salt, and it needs to be the kind that comes with a tippy-up spout in the lid. But the tub of salt in our kitchen does not have a tippy-up spout in its lid. So Mrs. Gorman then went and bought one that does. But then you're supposed to cut out a flat disc from the lid of your salt container, which you then insert inside the outer ring of the mason jar lid, like so, OK? But you can't cut out a flat disc from the one that she's bought because it isn't flat. And you can't fit the whole thing inside the mason jar lid ring because it's too big for it, so it doesn't fit. So instead, you just have to cut out just that bit and then find 2 bits of sturdy cardboard to create a housing so that it looks like that. So instead of repurposing things that are lying about the house, she's had to buy every single part of it. And for what? I'm not saying that isn't a pleasing object. I think it's lovely. It is. But it isn't something you'd put on the dinner table. Because you don't pour salt through your tippy-up spout onto your food, do you? I suppose you might pour salt into a saucepan from that, but I suspect that for most people, it's the container you use to pour into your actual salt cellar when you need to top it up. But we don't use that sort of salt. What we use are grinders that take a coarse sea salt. We have got a regular salt and pepper set, but only because I stole it from a friend who was using it incorrectly. We don't use them. We don't use them. So what's the upshot of all this? Well, we started off with this tub of salt at the back of our kitchen cupboard, and it's still there. But we've also now got this. And yes, it's more attractive as a container, but it lives at the back of the same kitchen cupboard where nobody will see it unless they happen to be in our kitchen on the day we decide to refill the salt cellar we don't even use. And because the one she bought is so much bigger than the mason jar, we've also got to keep this because it's more than half full of salt. So now we have 3 salt containers in a cupboard where there used to be 1. I don't think that has achieved anything to improve our lives. If anything, all it's done is raise my blood pressure, proving that it's true what they say about salt. These things are not helping. These things are just taking time and money. I don't want the woman I love to aspire to live some ultimate life hack, life of crafty perfection. My wife isn't inferior to these people. My wife is bloody magnificent. And I really want her to see the disembodied hands for the dishonest bullies I believe them to be. So I was thinking, what can I do to persuade her to give up on the life hacks? What can I do to make her see that they are style over content? And I thought the best way I could go about it would be to create my own life hack company and to create a page for it on Facebook. Slowly seed some very normal life hack videos onto it and then upload a video for a life hack that literally makes no sense whatsoever. To demonstrate that if anyone falls for it, it is the style of it that made them believe because the content was utter garbage. But then I thought, I'm not sure that's possible. I mean, those videos are always really beautifully shot. They're really professional. To make something properly convincing, you'd have to know someone who worked in telly or something. And then I thought, hang on, I do know people who work in telly. So that's what I've done, ladies and gentlemen. I have created my own life hack page on Facebook. It is called Hacksalutely Fabulous. It's one of the ones I mentioned earlier. As it goes, I added a things to do with lemons life hack. I added a bog-standard sticker removal life hack. No idea if that works or not. They were foil stickers. We'd only put them on the table 2 minutes before we filmed ourselves peeling them off. And then there was my masterpiece. The cream printing balloon hat that will blow your mind, which you all thought was real. You idiots! You fell for that You thought that was real. It makes no sense whatsoever, but suddenly, when it's performed by disembodied hands with nice jaunty music, it all feels very convincing, doesn't it? How do you think that was supposed to be working? Did you think the airing cupboard was like a photography darkroom? And that cream and vinegar were magic? What was going through your mind? Why did nobody think this is nonsense? And it's had so far 26,000 views. Because we advertise it a bit on Facebook. If you know someone's email address, you can make sure they get an ad for it on Facebook. So obviously, we made sure that Mrs. Gorman got the ads in the early days of Absolutely Fabulous. She was getting ads for it. We've also got all of your email addresses, so we made sure that as many of you as we could were also served ads for that hack. And to be honest, at this point, this show was going to have a different ending for a little while, because we had evidence that suggested a few people had fallen for it. But all of those endings were pushed to one side when I came home late from a day at the office, fancied a bit of a midnight snack, opened the freezer door to find this. How exciting! How exciting is that? Obviously, my first thought was, it's working, this is exciting. And then my second thought, and I'd never thought about this in advance, I suddenly thought, I wonder what she thinks she's printing. Now, I know from experience, when we filmed our video, we did it like 3 or 4 times with different balloons, and we emptied them all out. And basically, if you leave them a day or so, you empty it out, and the paper has dissolved in the cream. You can't retrieve the image that way. But I know Mrs. Gorman well. I know that she will have printed that on our home printer. We only have one printer. It's hardwired into one computer. Mrs. Gorman, a bit of a bad habit. If she prints something, she almost always saves it to the desktop first. Turn on the computer, look for the most recent documents, find what's on the desktop. I'm sure it's going to be that. All of a sudden, it's changed, hasn't it? It's not quite as exciting all of a sudden, is it? Before, the whole thing was a message infused with love to try to unshackle my wife from the chains of life hack servitude. Now, I'm just shitting on my baby boy's fun. I thought, I can't do that to my little boy, can I? I thought, I know. I could get some balloons printed. Yeah. I know where to get them done. We obviously had to get them done for our original video. The only problem being that they do a minimum order of 25 balloons, right? Which is why I've got this ridiculous collection of balloons with a stupid light bulb Absolutely Fabulous logo on them. Utterly bloody ridiculous, isn't it? There. Look at that, yeah. Do you want one of those? Yeah, yeah. You're a grown-up, it's a balloon. I know. I'll get some printed. I've got that image, it's on my computer. I'll go online, I'll order the balloons, I'll pick them up tomorrow, quick switcheroo in the airing cupboard, and Eric need never know it doesn't work. So that's what I did. I went off and got them printed. I got them in time. I came back. The next night, I discovered this in the airing cupboard. Mrs. Gorman has left her balloon on a nice little bed of toilet paper. So I put the printed balloon in its place. And then I thought, no. A face-up's a bit obvious, a bit weird. So I turned it over, and then I walked away and went to bed, thinking this has worked like a dream. A day later, I've been at the office a lot making this show. A day later, I come home. Eric's got a balloon with his name on it, and he loves it. So I say to Mrs. Gorman, God, where did he get that from? Have you been to a special party or something? She goes, no. We printed it ourselves, didn't we, Eric? God, did you? God. Where did you find out about that? She goes, oh, it was just on some website I found. Right. Well, just on a website? Yeah. Why do you ask? Oh, it sounds interesting, that's all, yeah. You sure it wasn't on one of those Facebook pages you love? She goes, no, definitely not. I haven't been on Facebook, I haven't had time. So really, what website was it then? She goes, oh, I can't remember right now. Anyway, look, are you putting into bed tonight or am I? I go, OK, I'll do it, sure. Now I'm all confused. Can't wait to get to work the next day. I'm in our office going, guys, you know that video we made? It worked. Mrs. Gorman's printed the balloon. But I don't think she saw our video. I think she saw somebody else's. Or somebody else has stolen our video and they've put it on their website. They're all going, but it doesn't work. I know it doesn't work. But I guess they all cheat when they make these videos. They just film the end result and film the thing making it. I don't know. Maybe they do that all the time. So we're all in the office trying to work out how this happens. I sent Mrs. Gorman an email. She's also at work that day. I say, can you tell me what that website was? We're just really curious and want to know if we can print some balloons for a thing we might be doing. She comes back to me saying, oh, it's just some blog. It was called easycrafthacks.weebly.com. So I shout round the office. I load up the website. Everyone comes round. It's just like a life hack blog. Scroll down and I find this video. How to use squirty cream to print your design on a balloon. Now, either we've accidentally invented a made-up thing that somehow bloody works, or they have stolen our made-up thing that doesn't work, and they don't know it doesn't work, and now they're telling people, and we could have created a new life hack that will live forever on different websites, being repeated by people who just rip off each other's ideas and don't know they don't bloody work. How exciting. So we all crowd round the computer to watch the video. You will need a balloon, some squirty cream. It's exciting, isn't it? I mean, it must be what we think it is. Except we watched on. Even though you use one balloon, at the end of this brilliant hack, you will have 25 printed balloons. A very large penny is very slowly dropping. You could feel everyone in the office tense up. Everyone wants to watch the video, but nobody wants to watch the video there together on my computer. Oh, you also need a smart-ass husband who clearly thinks you're an idiot. Fill the balloon with squirty cream. You don't need any vinegar, because who cares? I think we can do without the music from here on in. Leave it in the freezer, as instructed in the video that was clearly created by your husband to prove a point. You know it's your husband because you recognise his hands. You recognise my hands? You recognise my hands in that video? Come on. That is weird, right? That is weird. You could at least have taken your wedding ring off, Dave, you idiot. Leave bits of evidence around to convince your husband that you were making something nice for your baby son. You ready for this next line? This next line is a dagger to my heart. Maybe he could have made something nice for his son if he wasn't too busy making fake life hacks. She's rubbing salt in the wound, and why not? We've got plenty of it. We've got plenty of it. Back at the video. Watch the guilt take hold. Wait. And hey presto, a magical printed balloon appears. Which is odd, because I didn't put any paper in the one that went in the freezer. Somewhere, there are 24 other balloons. Where are they, Dave? Where are the balloons? I know you ordered 25 because I found the receipt that you saved on the desktop. Ladies and gentlemen, we can debate whether or not modern life is Goodish, but my life, we've got to agree, I bloody married well. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Good night.